Hello and welcome back to the show. So, I'm super excited for today's episode because we're sitting down with somebody who is very experienced, not just in the real estate space, but also in coaching other real estate agents and brokers. And my guest for today is Tanya Bugbee, who is a real estate expert with over 25 years of experience and has coached close to 1,000 real estate agents, brokers, mortgage lenders, and other successful business owners as well. So Tanya has a really interesting approach when it comes to getting results for her coaching clients. And we're going to be digging all into that today, how to get results, especially as we go into more of an uncertain market here with some of the changes going on in the real estate industry. But Tanya, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I really enjoy, following you and being on this podcast. And I hope my biggest hope is that somebody hears this and gets some value.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely think they will. But yeah, before we dig right on in, I would love for you to have an opportunity to share a little bit about your background. How did you become a real estate coach in the first place and really have the success that you've had in your career?
Well, I have a very unique background where it's not linear. Like I graduated college and then I became a coach, or right. I actually did college a very unique way. I was the day I graduated high school, I jumped on a sailboat with a guy and off we went sailing for 8 years, and I lived on a boat. I had a full ride to Georgetown and I blew it off. So I later in life I went to college. So I kind of did it backwards. He was also a pilot, so I learned to fly an airplane, and we managed a flight school, and I ran a flight school, and he ran the maintenance department. So right from the beginning I've kind of been an entrepreneur. Like when we lived on a sailboat, I wrote for Cruising World magazine. It's how I supported myself, was writing for Cruising World magazine, and they bought my articles, and then ran a flight school. At some point later in life, and I'll scare a lot of different, I went a lot of different ways. However, when I became a real estate agent, gosh, I've been licensed. I don't even know where to start. There's so much. When I became a real estate agent, I started in Florida. And then my ex was transferred, because now he's transferred to California, and then he was transferred to Houston. So every time we were transferred, I'd get my real estate license. And every time I'd get transferred, I had a coach. And my coach helped me get started in each new location so that I wasn't taking a long time to get up and running. And she's my hero. So when we landed in Houston is when we parted ways. And so now I'm in Houston with two kids. I had, at the time, my two daughters were around 12 and 13, 12 and 14. And my mom's like, you need to come home, which is California. And I'm like, the kids are in school. One just started high school. They don't want to move. And so probably one of the few times I listened to my mom, she's like, okay, you got to get your coach back. Right. And so because now my income is not discretionary. I'm supporting the two kids and myself. So I did. My coach is my hero. So we went from, dealing with a divorce, dealing with, feeling like a failure, taking a long time to get my sea legs. And I remember one time we're on a coach call and she's like, Tanya, at what point do you want to start making money? And at what point do you want to stop feeling sorry for yourself? Right. And this really was, right in my face. And that was the turning point for me. I became the second top producing agent in my brokerage in Houston. I supported my kids quite nicely, and just always had my coach in my back pocket. And then my kids are now, years later, they're both in college, and they both went to California colleges. And my coach says to me, okay, what's your goal for this next year? And I was sitting there really struggling, because I'm all about family and connection, and big part of my values. And I'm alone. Great business, great friends, but I'm no family in Houston. So she's like, well, we'll recruit you in. We'll hire you as a business coach. And they did. I went through that process of moving and coming out to California and working for a corporate coaching company, coached real estate agents in California. And I worked for them for 7 years.
Wow,
And
so
I
that's
became one of their top producing coaches.
yeah, yeah. I mean, over close to 1,000 clients. I'm sure
Yes.
that's top.
Well,
That's top of mind.
at one point I was coaching 91 real estate agents, brokers, lenders, a month. That was per month. And then I decided, it was not for me anymore, that I wanted to have my own coaching company. I wanted to be able to travel. One of my daughters now is living in Oregon. I wanted to be able to leave, and I can coach from anywhere. However, the corporation wasn't allowing that to happen. So I started my own coaching company. So now I'm 3 years in with my own coaching company. I love it. I don't look back. It was scary to do it. So that's kind of like a shorter version of how I got to where I am.
Yeah.
I hope that was clear enough.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I really wanted to kind of dig into just the impact your coach had on you, right? Because I feel like there's a lot of people who go into coaching, right, regardless of industry, there was a big impact that was made to them because they were also coached by somebody else that really changed their perspective and
Right.
changed their life, and they kind of want to pass it forward. Was that kind of what got you into the coaching space? Like prompted your interest was you wanted to make the same difference on other people that your coach had on you?
Absolutely. I'm not even sure I knew that right from the beginning. Like I wanted to be near my kids, and my kids tease me that I followed them to college, kind of thing, right? Right. And as I'm coaching other realtors and as I'm seeing them hit their goals, as I'm helping them realize that they have a lot more potential than they believe in, just like my coach did to me, I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. It was just awesome because my coach for me didn't let me live in fear, didn't let me live in, yes, I'm going to make mistakes. Yes, I'm not going to always do everything perfectly. However, making decisions based on fear was not a motto that she accepted from me. And so I know that without her, I mean, I might have been a successful businesswoman without her. It would have taken me a whole heck of a lot longer. With her, it was having her by my side, believing in me, pushing me, and she was not an easy coach. Right? It was like, you can do this, you're gonna do this, right? And didn't take my excuses. And yes, the impact she had on me, like I say, she is definitely one of my heroes. And when I can do that now for somebody else who's kind of sitting in the background, not thinking that they could do it, or maybe they want to quit, because real estate is not easy. I mean, the stats for a realtor, 80% of the realtors are out of the business by their second year. That's huge. And so my mission is that my clients are not one of those stats.
Yeah, and that's, it's a really good point as well that real estate agents tend to, there's a huge attrition rate for
Yeah,
real estate agents. And, I would love to kind of get your take on why do you think that is? Because there's many different industries out there and, getting a real estate license, obviously you're not getting like a master's degree or like a doctorate or anything like that,
right,
but, it still takes time and effort and investment. And when you get into the business, I do feel like there's not a ton of direction for a new agent
right.
unless they are partnered with the right coach or mentor. So I'd love to kind of get your take on that. What do you think is the biggest issue with this huge attrition rate in the industry?
Oh, I'm so passionate about this topic. I'm glad you asked. People that get their real estate license don't realize that they're now a business owner, right? They've probably been in a job all their life, right? And they've been told what to do. And here's the goal for the year. And right. And all of a sudden now they're a business owner and they have no clue because you don't learn that in real estate school. People get into it because, yeah, they want to have more flexibility in their schedule. And at least that's what they think, right? Or because it's hard to set those boundaries until you have a coach, right? And all of a sudden you're working 24/7. There's more freedom, and being a business owner is hard, and you have to pay your dues in the first couple of years. You really have to roll up your sleeves and work hard. And I don't think most people, when they get into real estate, realize that they're business owners, and that's where they flounder.
Yeah, that's such a good take because I do think that's also the number one reason why people are leaving the industry as new agents, right? So early on is because
Yep.
there's a huge difference between, thinking what a real estate agent is from the outside versus what it actually looks like
Right.
inside of the industry as a business owner, entrepreneur, taking care of your own business, right?
Exactly. It's not like that movie, build it and they will come, like Field of Dreams. It's not how it happens, right? So they think, oh, I've got my license. Now where's my client? And it's going to take 90 days and then once you have a client, you're going to take, a month or two to find a home and then 30 days to close. And so the budget's not there. The expectations weren't set right from the beginning. And then suddenly they're off looking for another job.
Yep, exactly. So, it's really interesting because, just kind of shifting a little bit into what's happening now. I think, even with a lot of agents who's been in the business for a while, with all of these new changes coming in with, the NAR lawsuits that were just
Yep,
recently been put into effect, if you will, for the industry across the board. Changes like this do happen in real estate, right? If somebody's been
absolutely.
in the business
Yep,
long enough, they understand that. But for a lot of agents who may have gotten their license, maybe back in like 2020 when everything was great and been in the business 4 years, this is a huge shock for them. So, do you have
absolutely.
any advice for somebody who is maybe questioning themselves or questioning their ability as an agent now that the changes are coming into play and they're not getting as much business as they used to, and they don't really know where to go from here?
Right. Well, first and foremost, I'm going to say get a hire a coach. Of course, I'm a coach. However, I believe in coaching. I have a coach. I've had a coach for many, many years when I was in real estate. So it comes from a place of I've had one and still have one. Have a coach. Make sure you're with the right brokerage, that your broker is keeping you informed, being really clear on the new rules because it's confusing. There's a lot of nuances of it, and we're not sure on all of it. So I do coach about a half a dozen brokers right now, and they're keeping their agents informed. They're having a lot of meetings. They're having role play sessions, right? Role playing the new dialogues you need to have with sellers and with buyers. So make sure that you're connected in the right community. So my number one advice, don't quit, is go get help. Because change is hard. Yes, it's scary, especially if you've been in the industry 10, 15 years and you've never had these conversations before. Actually, a brand new agent, they don't know any different. They have a leg up. They don't know any different, right? Uh, and so now, like with my clients, and currently I coach 30 real estate agents, and I've been asking them all week long since August 17th. And obviously, we've been talking about this for a long time. But now that it's actually in effect, I've asked them on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you with your confidence? Where are you with your courage? Where are you with your dialogues? And I am so proud of most of my clients, maybe only two. All my other clients are like, I'm an 8, I'm a 9, I'm good. And a couple of them are like, I'm a 4 still. I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about it. And then in my coaching business, on the first Friday of every month, I have a mastermind session with all my clients so they can get together and talk. And so, the first Friday in September, we're going to regroup on this, so that they go from a 4 to a 6 and hopefully from a 6 to an 8. It takes practice and it takes intentionality.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting point, right? New agents coming into the industry, they actually have a leg up, and I'm
You
so
do.
glad. I agree with that absolutely 100%
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's just a new way of doing business moving
Right.
forward, right? So for a new agent who's not known any better, it's actually easier for them to adjust because they're learning it from a blank state instead of having to, I guess, unlearn all the
Right.
other practices maybe they have been putting into play for their business for the past 4, 5, or 10 years.
Right. Again, yes. And if they have successful businesses, like a lot of my clients do, and most of their business is coming from referrals, right? It's different. And the referrals are great, but now you need to really show your value, have testimonials on why, because a lot of buyers are like, I have to pay your, fee now. Right. And yes, and this is why. So that's where the confidence comes in, the clarity on your communication comes in. So we practice and change a couple flyers up, make sure there's testimonials in there, and it's going to be fine. It's going to be really wonky for about 6 months, maybe a year. It's going to be wonky, and there's a lot of nuances in there. So stick with it. Like, have a little sense of humor around this, right? Because I see a little more changes coming. I don't and I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I bet you a year from now we're not going to talk about it anymore.
With a
And
lot
there'll
of
be agents that'll get out of the business because of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's the I guess the unfortunate part of that, right? Or I guess for some agents, they think that they think it is fortunate, and that some agents just not cut out to make it in the
Well,
industry.
there's less competition and it's going to weed out the ones that are, not so great, and the professional ones will stick it through. But I do want to give a tip right now, real quick, if it's okay. There's a lot of agents, and my mom is one of them. So my mom has been a realtor forever. I don't want to say her age, but she's in her 80s. And she's like, Tanya, I don't want to learn this new system. Like, I don't want to deal with this. And so she is, selling her business. She's giving her database to another agent who's going to give her referral fees for the next 3 years off of her clients. So there's a lot of, and I have a client that I coach in Phoenix that two older, more mature agents are like, yeah, I'm done, I'm retiring. And now they're negotiating their database. So, for the newer agents or agents that are definitely going to stick in it, look around your brokerage and see who's getting out, especially ones that have been in it a long time and are now going to retire. They have a phenomenal database for you.
Yeah, that's actually a really good tip, right? For somebody
Yep.
who's looking for new clients or just
Yep.
a bigger pipeline, right? Because this is a, it's an interesting time, right? Where if you capitalize on the opportunity and you start looking for the opportunities, you're going
Yep.
to be able to find them. And I
Yep.
think that's for everything, right? Whether if it's a recession, a slow market, changes like this, right? To just the way the industry is done or the way real estate business is practiced, you got to be looking for opportunities. I'm sure you would agree as
Absolutely.
well,
Yeah.
based on the conversations we're having about mindset and confidence.
Yeah, and even with these changes, even without these changes, there's always agents that are getting out of the business. And if they haven't been doing any business, then that's not an agent you're going to chase. They don't have a database. But if it's a successful realtor that's wants to go focus on being grandma or grandpa and they want to retire, go talk to them, take them to lunch, see how you can, talk to them about their database. And obviously, you're going to give them referral fees off their database for a certain length of time. But that's a phenomenal loyal database. That's gold. Yeah. So look for those opportunities in your brokerage. Go to your brokerage. Don't stay home.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. So, something else I think I really wanted to get your take on was, we were talking a little bit about this before the show, which is kind of your coaching style, right? Because one of the biggest issues now, especially if agents are going in, the agents who are taking action, right? Who, with the changes coming and with the market the way that it is right now, they're getting coached, or maybe they've been in the business for a couple of years, they've done well without a coach, and now they know that in order to sustain their success, they need to go get a coach. But there's a lot of coaching programs or companies
Mhm.
out there that kind of teach one or two or just whatever strategy that they're teaching, right? And for some agents that work, but for probably the majority of other agents who are in that program, it doesn't work. And the biggest thing with coaching, I think, is you want to get results, right? If you're not getting results, then you're really not, there's really no point in doing it. So I would love for you to be able to share a little bit about how you are different when it comes to coaching agents, because you mentioned that you do take more of a consultative approach and you want to make
Right.
sure that if somebody's working with you, that they actually get the results they're looking for.
Right. And so there is not a bad system, right? It just might not work for somebody, right? So I don't want a realtor to think, oh, I can't be a good realtor or I fail at real estate because I tried this coaching company and it didn't work. And the coaching company is not bad. They're training, right? And I think that's more training than coaching. And I can go into that in a minute. So I guess my best example is I have two clients that have the same goal this year. They both want to close 25 homes. One is this young single gal, two young kids, they're not even in school yet, has this goal. And then I have a single 50-year-old gentleman in another state, same goal, right? And they're both going to hit their goals, but I promise you they have different ways of doing business. My gal that's home is leaning more into calls and Zoom networking meetings because she doesn't have a babysitter and her kids are, again, they're not even in preschool yet, versus the gentleman who can go out and network and be out in the community and do a lot of community events. They're both hitting their goals. It's just totally different methods,
Yeah, and that's
and
so important.
that's what I want to be sensitive to.
Yeah, and I think more coaches need to be sensitive to that, right? Because there's not one way of doing business. It really does depend on who it is, right? Who the agent is, their circumstance,
Right.
what they can do. And also I think, you can touch on this as well, is when the plan that is made is the agents their if it's their own plan that they've come up with, or they own it, right? It makes a difference between somebody else just telling them exactly what to do and they just have to go out there and execute it.
Correct. Right. I don't tell my clients what to do. I try not to. Right. I mean, we'll lay out all these tactics. There might be 8 or 9 tactics. I'm like, okay, now pick two. Right. Which ones resonate? Which ones do you feel that's going to work within your lifestyle? With either being at home or being very gregarious and wanting to get out. And so we lay out and then we create the roadmap for it. And then we'll customize, the time management and how that's going to work. and it works. I see a lot of success. And again, just like with NAR, there's other things that are going to get in your way. There's going to be potholes in that road, and it might be personal, it could be health, it could be a family member, it could be now you have the NAR rulings, right? And we've got to learn to be resilient and pivot with those changes. And that's where a lot of coaching comes in, is like mindset, imposter syndrome, fear of failure, the biggest one, fear of sounding salesy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And that's where coaching comes in, right? You can train somebody all day long, but if they've got fear of success or imposter syndrome or fear of sounding pushy, they're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or
Especially
their
with,
road's going to be they're going to be in the slow lane.
yeah, exactly. Because they're not confident, right? If they're not
Right.
confident, they're not going out there. It's basically like subconscious
Yep.
self-sabotage at that point. Because
Exactly. Yep.
when you don't know
Yep.
what to say, you try not to say anything at all. So
Well, I'm really good at calling out the self-sabotage. I've got one client, that I had to call it out the other day, and her underlying fear is she's not going to be a good mom if she gets really busy. And I'm like, we're you're at the point where we're going to need help. You need a backup band, right? You're not a one woman show. And no, you're not going to. I didn't miss one of my kids' swim meets. One was a swimmer, swam through college. Other one was a dancer and ballet. I didn't miss those things. On occasion, maybe, but it was rare that I would. But I had a backup band, right? So a one woman show or a one man show, and you want to close a lot of homes, yeah, you're going to miss your kids' stuff, but I'm
yeah,
going to set it up so she doesn't. Right. And so helping people get over that fear. And that's really where most of the coaching lands. I
yeah.
know what they're capable of. They don't know it yet.
Right. That's so interesting, right? That, as a coach, you can bring out the potential of somebody
Right.
else. And I do want you to also talk maybe a little bit about just the difference between coaching and training, right? Because a lot of new agents get into a brokerage or, maybe they've been in business for a while and they sign up for this program and it's they call it maybe coaching, mentoring,
Right.
whatever program, but it's really just it's a training program,
Training program.
right?
Right. Right.
So what's the
So
difference?
So the difference between coaching and training is training. I'm going to teach you how to door knock, or I'm going to teach you how to farm. I'm going to teach you effective ways to network, or I'll teach you 5 steps to get more referrals, right? And it's good. However, where coaching comes in and where trainers lack the knowledge is what's stopping them from now doing it. What's getting in the way? What do you say to yourself at 4 o'clock in the morning when you wake up because you haven't done the action steps that your trainer asked you to do? And when I peel the onion and ask the questions and just listen, that's when it's like, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think, it's my first listing presentation. I've never done one before. Who's going to pick me? And that's now coaching, helping them on their mindset, right? Or imposter syndrome is so huge. It's so prevalent. And it's like, okay, well, let's work on that. Let's talk about that. And once I start getting them to get the courage and talking to the right voices in their head, then the action steps start to happen. Then the confidence starts to build. Then the imposter syndrome starts to get smaller and smaller. It takes time. Everybody has their own speed, right? With that. But if you're not trained to know how to do that, trainers don't ask. There's like, what's stopping you? Why aren't you doing this? Just go do it. And we're not a Nike commercial, right? Is it not going to just happen? If you're sitting there thinking you're not good enough or you're salesy, right? And so, yeah, Nike kind of messed this up because it is not going to just happen.
Just do it, right?
Just
That's
do
the
it.
thing people are being told all the time, and
Yeah.
that is super interesting because there's a lot of agents who are frustrated because
Yep.
they don't know, like I guess like they keep thinking like what's wrong with me, right? Because they see the
Right.
other people maybe in a coaching program or not necessarily a coaching program, but maybe like a training program,
Right.
or maybe at their same brokerage that started in the business the same time they did. And they're going through like the same training, right? They're being taught the same skills to the same, here's what to do, and then one person maybe 3 6 months later they're doing you know as many deals as they want to do, and then the other agent themselves they're not seeing
Has
the same
nothing.
amount of success, right? there's
Right.
there's something else there is what you're saying, and
Right.
a coach can
Right.
help you bring that out.
And there is. So it could be the agents that now has closed 3 homes after the training session either has had some coaching or, maybe like with me, my mom was a realtor. So when I became a realtor, it was kind of like, all right, I know what's going to happen. And I've owned businesses in the past, right? So it's like, I knew, but when people get into real estate and realize, oh, I have to ask for a referral or I need to talk about referrals, right? I didn't realize that. I thought it just, right. So their expectations aren't there. Their confidence isn't there. And that's why I love coaching them, because once that confidence grows and they text me, Tanya, it worked. It's like, yes. I asked them, who do you know that wants to invest in a property this year? And they're like, oh, my brother, and it's like, yeah, you just got to get out of the closet.
Right. You just have to, you just have to go push past some of those fears.
You
And for
do.
everybody, like
Yeah.
you said, it's a different, it's going to be different for everybody, right? So some people might be coming in with more baggage, with less baggage, right?
Right.
From their previous careers, lives, childhood, whatever it is that people are suffering from. And that's the unique thing about getting one-on-one coaching, one-on-one time, because there's so many different variables that go into why people aren't taking action. They're not reaching the amount of success, or maybe they are, but they're not feeling fulfilled, which again is another thing as well. So it's all these variables that kind of come into play when it comes to finding the success and also the fulfillment that you're
Right.
looking for in business. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I've learned over the years, and I'm still not perfect. I don't believe in perfection. So I just totally, I'm trashing myself right now.
yeah.
Um, I tend to push hard. That, like, when you ask my coaching style, I mean, I don't carry a whip in my hand, but I am very pragmatic. I am very caring. However, I am not the soft marshmallowy cheerleader-ish kind of coach. I am not. I mean, I know them. They're great. If that's what you need, I'll refer them to you. But I've learned, when to back off, when I need to be softer, when I need to slow it down because they're going to be a little bit slower, and that's okay. Everybody has their own speed in their lane. And that's part of the challenge in coaching that I love. And I'm better at it. I mean, my first year of coaching, now I'm in my 10th year of coaching. Obviously, I have more tricks up my sleeve and a lot of practice.
Yeah, and it brings up a question, a good question actually, which is, do you ever feel like that, as a coach, there's clients that you necessarily don't want to take on because, they're just not ready yet, or, if you push too hard, they might just go away, and you would rather lose a client than, stay back and just watch them pay for your coaching program and then fail and not get the results that they're
Oh,
looking
absolutely. If someone pays for coaching 3 months in and they're not doing anything, I'm like, we're not connecting. I'm missing something. Either you're not getting real with me, and it could be them, or I am not figuring it out. I am not connecting in the ways you need me to, and I don't want you spending another, month in coaching if you literally haven't moved the needle in 3 months, and it's rare. I pretty much can know that when I have an onboarding call, I have a discovery call, I offer a free complimentary coach call. We pretty much know if we're going to be a good fit or not. And if it's not, I don't try to make it a fit. I don't, because it's frustrating for me and they've wasted their money.
Yeah, and you gotta, it's like with agents, right? You can kind of take that same approach with clients, right? Some people who are just not, they're just not
Absolutely.
ready, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to force that relationship, right? You
Right.
want to set the correct boundaries and only work with people that are going to work with you, and the expectations do need to be set up front in order for it to work.
Yes. With my clients, we work on a communication plan. We set up hours of operation. We set up a text plan. Like if you like with my realtor, I don't want them texting, other clients while they're on a listing presentation or, writing an offer with another client. It's like set the expectation with your clients. When you text me, if I can answer immediately, I will. However, it might be up to 3 hours before I can respond. Right. So you have the expectation set so that somebody 2 hours later is saying, oh, realtor Tanya is ignoring me. She's not texting me back. So we, set those expectations right in the beginning of the relationship, right? Same thing with hours of operation. I start my day, for example, at 8 a.m. and I end my day at 7, unless we're negotiating. So if you need anything and you text me after 7, I'll get back to you the next day after 8. Some of my clients have flyers. I've got a Remax agent that has the Remax balloon on a door with her hours of operation on it. right? So the more you can communicate up front, those boundaries, the better. Now, if you have a client that says, no, I want you to be available at 10 and I expect you to be available 24/7, and I don't like the fact that you don't work on Sunday afternoons, then they're not the client for you. Pass them,
Yeah. You have to
right?
be
Just
able to
pass. Yeah.
say that, to say no, right? And
Yeah.
also, do you think that, it comes down to like confidence? Because a lot of new agents will be like, well, I can't do that, right? I don't have any clients. I need to find,
But or I need to pay my rent, so I need to take the
yeah.
client. So that's okay. I mean, again, I'm not gonna judge that. And everybody needs practice with that anyway. You need to experience, you're gonna need to experience this to believe me, right? Because it's gonna happen, right? Do I want them to avoid it? Sure. However, newbies are gonna take it. That's normal. I did. I remember my first year in real estate, taking clients like that. And then after a couple of years, no,
Yeah.
right? It's just no.
You eventually just get tired of it, right? It's just not worth it anymore at a certain point.
No, and yeah, and I'm a single mom with two kids, and I have a boundary in our home that everybody's home by Sunday afternoon, so we can spend time together. So I'll show a home Sunday morning, but by 2 o'clock, all three of us are home. It's our time together. We have dinner together. And if a client needs me or expects that I'm going to be there all day on Sunday, it's like, well, I'm not the realtor for you. But yes, that takes confidence. Yes, I have plenty of other business in my pipeline and I can say no.
Yeah, and that's the important part of that, is just, having a surplus, almost an abundance, so that way
Yes.
you're not grasping for all the straws that you can get
Yeah.
out there. So, one of the other things that I really wanted to talk with you about is the fact that you do coach not just real estate agents, but also real estate brokers as
Mhm.
well. And, I talk always with, brokers and coaches and people who have come from a success as an individual business owner, a self-employed
Yep.
individual, if you will, who has made that successful transition into being a successful leader or a successful coach or an educator as well. Because I do understand that there is a big difference, right, between you being able to perform at a high level as an individual versus you being able to perform as a high level, or getting others to perform at that same level or even higher level than you as a leader. So has
Right.
that been something you have been working on with your broker clients? And is that something that you've kind of seen you have to, make that adjustment yourself, going from a real estate agent to being a successful real estate coach?
Coaching brokers is a lot of fun and a lot of work because they have a lot of hats to play. Because yes, they're a leader, right? They're a business owner. They've got to be profitable, and then and then they need to recruit. Then they need to hire, and then they need to retain them, right? And so there are a lot of hats in there. Social media for a broker. So a lot of my brokers, well, all the brokers that I coach, we coach one-on-one. They get one-to-one coaching, and then part of the program is then I coach their agents as a group. So, and again, I customize my coaching program. So I have one broker in Texas that I coach her group 3 times a month. And then I have another broker that I coach her group once a month. And then there's a Friday where I have open office where her agents can come in and I can just talk to them one-on-one. And I have open office for about an hour and a half for them. So again, I'll customize what that broker needs so that I can take some of the training off their plate, because I can train on how to duplicate a listing, or how to get a referral before their 1 year anniversary, or whatever it is that they want me to coach their people on. But leadership is a huge part of coaching, and I love this. One part of my certification is leadership coaching, so I get to practice leadership coaching, although I do that when my realtors start hiring and growing a team, because I coach team leaders, right? So then at that point, when they have an assistant and transaction coordinator, and maybe they're hiring a junior agent, they're becoming a leader, right? And so there's leadership in there as well. So I get to practice a lot more leadership coaching with my brokers, but four of my brokers, all four of them are producing agents too. So then I've got to figure out how they're going to balance that.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing to balance, right? Because, for a lot of high performers, especially, it can be frustrating, in my opinion, from what I've seen and,
Mhm.
experiences as well. It can be frustrating when you've been a high performer, or you continue to be a high
Yep.
performer at what you do, and you're trying to get other people to be even just maybe 50% of what you're doing, and it's just
Right.
not clicking, right? So do you have any advice for people kind of in that situation? Because you're coaching brokers as well, who are also performing themselves.
Right. So again, it's that B word, boundaries. And, if a broker says to me, I want to close 60 homes and I want to run a brokerage and manage 15 or 16 agents, we have again, I'm pretty direct and having a heart to heart. I don't want to tell anybody they can't reach their goals, but I also want them to have mental health. I want them to be able to go on vacation. Right. So we have a conversation, and sometimes it's learning to let go of production, maybe so, right, and referring it out to some of your agents in your office and keeping the ones your A+ clients, the higher end clients, keep them. It's just teaching them that it's okay to let go, because it's really important for a broker to build a sense of community within their brokerage for retention, right, for growth when you're recruiting. Because like, when are you going to recruit if you're closing 50 homes, right? You've got to be out there taking other agents to lunch and doing, it's a lot of work to recruit. So yeah, it's balancing. And again, not everybody has a clear expectation on what it's going to look like until they're in it. And then they start to sink a little bit. And then that's when I come in. I throw them a lifeline and we get them swimming, not thinking.
Yeah, all the
A
experience.
lot of people have to learn from their mistakes, right? I know I am. I know that I learned from failure, right? It's like, I didn't listen to my coach. She was right. Darn it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say like all the experience on a sailboat, right? Helping them
Yep.
stay afloat,
Yeah,
right?
there's my sailing metaphors. Yes.
Yeah, but it is it is funny, right? Because a lot of like I think you mentioned like a lot of brokers they because they've been doing the business themselves for so long, they tend to just kind of when things go wrong, even with like maybe they're not a broker, maybe they're a team leader, but they have an agent, right? Have a transaction that's closing with a client and they don't know what to do. And the broker or the team leader kind of just takes it over themselves and just gets it done for them, right? And I know different people have different opinions on this, but if you really want to be like a true leader when you can have a business where you don't have to run it forever, that's I don't think that's the right approach, right?
Yeah,
Because
I'm not one for spoon feeding.
yeah,
Yep, I agree with you. I'm on your page, right? We want to teach them how to feed themselves, teach them how to fish, all that kind of stuff, right?
yeah,
But stepping in is great. Being there to help your newbies on how to write contracts and what's going wrong or how to help. I mean, they're going to need help. They're going to have an agent on the other side maybe that's doing something wrong, but they don't know. So being hands-on is important as a broker, unless they have a managing agent or unless in their brokerage they have mentors to be helping a certain amount of agents. Those are all things you can have in your brokerage, but as you're growing your brokerage, you might not have that in the beginning. So there needs to be some office hour time for the broker and their agents, right? So again, we're going to be doing a lot of time blocking
yeah,
and
yeah.
where those hats are going to fit in.
Right. Yeah. Because, as a broker, especially now with all the changes, right? You have to stay on top of everything, right? And
Right. So
make,
they're learning and reading the contracts and really understanding it, and then providing classes for their agents, right? And then hopefully some role playing time, because that really is helpful.
yeah, absolutely. So, it is interesting because it can be hard, right? I think for somebody to make that transition especially when they know what to do, but they want to make sure their agents are independent as well, right? So
Yeah.
you have to guide them to the right place, but you can't do everything for them
Nope.
forever, right? Or they're going to be too
Nope.
reliant on you.
Oh yeah, and they'll never be ultimately won't be very successful if they're don't have the confidence and the knowledge. I mean, other agents can smell another agent not knowing what they're doing, right? It's not
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Especially if you do know what you're doing, right?
Right. If you know what you're doing, and you can pretty much figure out what the other one doesn't. And that's, that happens. Right. So yeah, no. A broker's not serving their agents if they're spoon feeding them.
Yep. Absolutely agree with you on that. And yeah, so Tanya, I just want to say thank you for being on the show today, and you shared really a ton of value with us, and for not just for agents but also for brokers and leaders, and really kind of explained probably the value of getting a coach, right? The value of whether you're a new agent, experienced agent, or even a broker, the impact a coach can have on you and your business and your growth, and like you mentioned, your mental health and your personal
Right.
life as well.
Right.
So yeah, so for the people out there who are watching or listening to this that want to learn more about what you do, maybe they want to have you coach them or just have a consultation with you just to see if they're a good fit or not. What are some of the best places for people to reach you or to maybe follow your journey on social media or online?
Sure. Putting my name into Google is easy. Tanya Bugbee, Bugbee, just how it sounds, bug and a bee. There's not a lot of Tanya Bugbees out there. So once you put me in Google, you'll see I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. LinkedIn is one of my favorite platforms, and so I'm very active on LinkedIn. I have a newsletter, so if somebody wants to be a part of my newsletter, that goes out once a week. My website, tanyabugbee.com. So again, tanyabugbee.com, my name. I'm easy to find. Please reach out, call me, text me, send me a smoke signal. We'll have a consultation. We'll see if we're a good fit. Happy to help and give you some tips. I don't want to be overly salesy. Please, I don't want, if you want to know more about my program, obviously I'll tell you. But if you just need a friendly ear, call me, because there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, and we'll make sure to leave the links to that in the description, the show notes down below.
Awesome.
So make sure to reach out to Tanya if you guys just need somebody to talk to, or if you guys are looking for a real estate coach in your life as well. But other than that, Tanya, I want to thank you again for being
Thank
on the
you.
show. And before we let you go, do you have any last pieces of advice, any last tips to leave with our audience before we'll let you sign off here today?
Gosh, believe in yourself, right? I know that it's hard, and being a business owner is a lot of work. Believe in yourself and get help. You don't need to be a one-person show. Get some help.
Yep, I love it. That's some great advice. Thanks again for being on the show. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next show.
Thank you,
Take
everybody.
care.
Thanks.